It's a show. It's a podcast show. Welcome to the Julie Cross Podcast Show. Empowering, energising and entertaining.
Hey friends, Julie Cross here. Got a bit of a story time for you, but it's a bit of a different story this time. I discovered this, well actually my mum found it for me and she gave it back to me. And I'm talking about this actually at my Building Resilience workshops with the children and their parents. And it's obviously just an old exercise book from school, and I think it was from when I was about this age, and I look like this. Haven't changed a bit, have I? And so Mum found it amongst all the things at home and you know, said maybe I'd like it, and it's got here, Julie C, nice things. And that's kind of what's written on the front. And inside is a collection of, and I remember doing this now, a collection of quotes, some that I copied out of the Reader's Digest on an old typewriter. You'll notice all be white out there. And others that I have copied out of some books or found somewhere, lovely verses, inspiring messages that I've written in longhand here. And I had a look through it because I couldn't remember exactly what was in it. And so I had a look through it, reading it. And, you know, it's pretty amazing, because what's amazing is to think that I was writing this at that age and obviously reading it regularly and knowing that I perhaps needed this. And, you know, life wasn't always perfect, as it often isn't in families. My dad spent a lot of time at the pub and, you know, there were fights and all sorts of stuff going on. And so, and I had my challenges at school. I wasn't the popular kid. I was pretty uncool. So I had my stuff going on like we all did and we all do, and our kids do today, our children do today. So somehow I knew that I needed something, and I started writing all these things down, and with verses in it like, to be a friend, a man should remember that we are human magnets, that like attracts like, and what we give, we get. And now one of the lines in my song is, I give and I receive. You know, they say that if you want to know if you haven't found your dharma, what you're here to do, and you want to know what your passion is, to look back into your childhood for signs. So it was like I was on track right from here, but I had to go on a long journey to get onto the stage. And so when I read this, I'm amazed that I was reading these sorts of things at that age and writing about these sorts of things at that age. So I just wanted to read something that I've written in here, which is such a great message for me today. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that this was a foundation for me. This was my soft place to fall when life wasn't going well. I had found this and created this soft place to fall, somewhere to go, to give me these inspiring messages when I felt like I was being challenged. And we all need something like this. So what have we got? What books are we reading? What are we exposing ourselves to? And what have our children got? Because there are some wonderful memes that flash up on Facebook, but in amongst that, there's lots of energy-stealing messages as well that are teaching us to compare and et cetera, and making us feel less than great. So what is our soft place to fall? What foundation are we building? Our foundation of resilience and coping and strategy? What messages are we absorbing and taking in? Because I can see now that without this foundation, I would never have coped with life's challenges that I've had as an adult, and particularly in the last 10 to 14 years. Because listen to one of the messages that I've written in here, and I didn't write this, I've copied it out of something, and I can't credit the author, so bear with me. It's called Self-Image. Fancy, my sparkle is alive. Self-Image. Many years ago, my father, sitting opposite me at the table and puffing away on a cigarette, gave me this advice. Kid, he said, he always spoke that way. Kid, I'm going to tell you something that I hope you'll always try to remember. Survival in this world is very hard, but it can be easier if you have a friend, kid. Your best friend should always be yourself. Now, don't ooh and ah and say that's arrogant and conceited. Just listen. Over the years, you will, I hope, make many friends. Every now and again, you will feel that this one or that one is your very best friend. Well, kid, friends are like you and me. They're not infallible. Some will hurt you so much that your heart will almost break. Some will marry and drift away. And we must face it, others will die through sickness or accident, and you will feel devastated. Don't rely on your friends to see you through. Don't expect any one person to feel he or she has any responsibility for you and your happiness. Kid, I hope you have many friends of all shapes and sizes, countries and creeds. But kid, try always to have your best friend as yourself. So when you receive the hard knocks in life, you will like yourself enough to help yourself up and see yourself through it. Now, when I read that, that was pretty profound for me. And I truly believe that through this toughest of times, people have supported me. So this isn't saying I didn't get support and wonderful help from my friends and my family. But what I learned through all of that in the end it was still me that had to go to bed without my husband, that had to go to bed with autism running around the house. It was me that had to wake up in the morning without my husband and look at the new day. It was me that still had to deal with getting Thomas to school and the broken windows and the smashed in walls. You know, I remember going to a psychiatrist and with Thomas and I was thinking, well, what's she going to do? He's not going to talk to her. So sure enough, he hid under the desk. And she's saying, you know, and she was saying to me, and I was talking to her about his behaviour and what I could do, and she was talking me through some stuff. And I go, so, you know, well, what should I do when I go home tonight, though? He's still going to kick in the walls. And she said, and maybe you have to leave him kick in some walls. And I said, well, could you do that? Could you do that in your house? And she said, but Julie, I don't have to. This is your situation. And you could say that wasn't fair or she shouldn't have said that, but that's the reality of it, that I couldn't take her home with me to do this. I had to still do it. I had to be the one that had to handle it. And no matter how much therapy or counselling or anything else, in the end, it's still me that has to apply the strategies. You know, when Thomas was getting speech therapy, the therapist said to me, in 1 hour a week, I'm not going to teach Thomas to talk. I'm going to be teaching you to teach Thomas to talk because you're the one that's got to go home with it. And so I had to know that I was worth getting up through all that pain, that I was worth dealing with all of those challenges. I had to be my own best friend through all of that because people could only support me so much. And then I had to go to bed with it and I had to wake up with it. And that's why it can be such a lonely journey. But that's also why you have to know you're worth it and you reach out for help when you can, absolutely, and you take it when people offer it. But then you know that you do have to go to bed with it. And so when I think about that was in me. That's subconsciously, subliminally, that message was sitting in there somewhere. So what are we exposing ourselves to? What are we reading? What are we absorbing? What messages are we hearing? And what are we exposing our children to? What's their soft place to fall? And this is why I do my public shows, so that you have access to the messages that I present, so that your children can have access to those messages. That's why I've got my Recharge Your Sparkle. Maybe that can be the soft place to fall, where you can access it online and you can revisit these messages so that you're getting subliminally, subconsciously, those messages of empowering up, those positive messages, that your teenagers now can have access to that as well. I've added to my Recharge where I've added some extra modules for teenagers. So, and that's all that stuff's available on my website. So, and if not that, somebody's messages, you know. So read the books, fill yourself up, because you never know when you'll be calling on that information. So I'm pretty delighted that I found my little book of treasures and all that inspiration in there. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you soon.
Would you like a little bit more sparkle? Then you're invited to download a free poster at juliecross.com.au.